What's going on, guys? I'm Tommy, and I'm coming at you with an action figure review. Today I'm going to be reviewing Hasbro The Black Series Gaming Greats Dagan Gera from Jedi Survivor. I pre-ordered this figure, and I had not even played Jedi Survivor yet. I pre-ordered this figure on Big Bad Toy Store, the place that I go for all my action figure orders and pre-orders. Great service, US-based, yada yada yada. Just go check out Big Bad Toy Store. This, again, like I said, is a character that I thought was cool, and I pre-ordered, and I hadn't played Jedi Survivor yet. For some reason, I waited 2 years to play Jedi Survivor, and then I played it, and it was like my obsession for like a month. I beat all the post-game stuff. I absolutely loved it. I loved that game just as much, if not more, than I loved Jedi Fallen Order. And Jedi Survivor is just such a fun game. One of the coolest enemies and bosses in this game was Dagan Gera. Dagan Gera, honestly, is one of the first High Republic things that I've found like deep interest in since the introduction of that era from a few years ago. And it's been really cool to see him in the game. I think you fight him 3 different times, if I'm correct, and he changes a little bit each fight. But you know, he's one-armed. He's a one-armed dark Jedi, I guess we'd call him, and he's just awesome in every single way. Like, I love this character. So I'm really glad that I loved the game and I loved him so much. It really made me feel validated in pre-ordering this figure. This guy was a mainline release for, I guess, technically 2025, even though some people got him in 2024. He comes in the standard packaging for the Black Series right now. You have the Black Series logo up at the top. You have a nice big plastic window showing you the character, his accessories, and then there is a Gaming Greats sticker. This is what the Black Series does for their current releases. Mainline seems to be like, you know, mostly new tooling on a character, and also tends to be just, you know, from a video game. That's how they differentiate those. But on the side here, you have your vertical text with the character's name. He is number 27 for the Gaming Greats subline here. On this little banner, which is the color for the Gaming Greats subline, you do have the name of the game he's from, as well as some legalese and logos down at the bottom. On this side here, you have his mural art looking awesome. I think that he looks really cool. I don't think this looks exactly like the character here, but it's not a big deal because this is just the box anyway. He's got the name of the character down at the bottom. On the back of the box here, you've got a lot of the stuff we saw on the other side. You have your Black Series logo, that same mural image we saw blown up a bit with that Jedi Survivor logo down there, and you have the character's name and a bio in about 1,000 different languages. This bio reads, "Former Jedi Knight Dagan Gera emerged from a back-to-tank imprisonment motivated by betrayal, blaming the Jedi Order for the destruction that befell his greatest discovery, the hidden planet Tanalorr." You will see again, he is number 27 for the Gaming Greats subline. More your legalese down here, guys. Please don't feed Dagan to your babies. On this side of the box, you have a Black Series logo with some of that wraparound window. We also have the Gaming Greats logo up at the top here. On the bottom, even more legalese, and on the top, nothing. So that about wraps it up for the packaging. Let's get into this figure. I'm really excited to check this guy out. As he is a one-armed character, I think it's going to be fun to kind of pose this guy around. Alright, here's Dagan out of the box. Before we take a look at him, let's take a look at his technically 2 accessories he comes with, those being his 2 lightsabers that are obviously meant to be a dual-wield lightsaber, and I'll kind of explain the peg system later. These are really cool. These are identical, one's just shorter than the other as far as the actual hilts go. These are done in some really nice silver plastic. You get some really, really good ornate deco here for the gold on top of the really nicely done sculpt work, and then you have the black at the grips here. Everything looks really good. Again, one's a little bit shorter than the other. One also has a peg to match the peg hole in the smaller one here, and you put these together. They are kind of offset, so there is technically a right way to put these together. I think that's good. I like when they do stuff like that, so you can make sure that the ends are kind of symmetrical and you don't have these kind of little, I guess, prongs, I'll call them, poking out in different directions. And then you have these nice deep red lightsaber blades. These are absolutely awesome. Doesn't look like there's any option for weapon storage on this guy, not that that's a huge deal anyway. These lightsaber blades can be removed from the hilt, which is very easy to do. This is kind of what they look like. Both of them are identical. That's what they look like when they're removed. And here's the lightsaber hilt without the blades in it. I think, again, this is a really great accessory. Dagan's lightsaber is a really cool design in the game too, so I'm really happy with that. So now we'll take a look at Dagan himself. Now, obviously the first thing, the biggest thing here is that he's missing an arm, and this is basically just plugged into where the arm socket would be because, surprise, surprise, there is a 2-armed version coming out later in a 2-pack. Be sure to be on the lookout for that review. I will review that when I get it. But here he is. First impressions, I'm really happy with how this guy looks. Obviously, my biggest thing right away is I wish this cape was a soft goods piece, with the hood, because it's just going to hinder articulation. Obviously, this guy is a pretty dynamic character, fighting him 3 different boss fights. He's very quick, he's very agile, he's a force user. So obviously, I think that it would make the most sense to give him a soft goods cape. However, I'm not the Hasbro team. I didn't make the choice designing this. I will give it to them, though, that this plastic is very textured, and there is also this really nice paint application along the edges of the cape and the outside of the hood. So I do think in that regard, it might have been smarter to do the sculpted plastic. His face looks great. It doesn't really look exactly like Dagan in the game. I think that they really nailed the nose, though. Like when I put him back a little bit, I think it looks really, really nice. But again, I think as far as the face goes, I think it looks good enough. When I see it, it's automatically identifiable as Dagan. I think they've got the eye color down really nicely. And what's really cool, I don't even know if you can see it, but there's these really, really subtle paint applications on the neck and around the chin. This is not facial hair. These are these little striations that he has as part of his species, I guess, skin tone. It has these really cool striations, and they're very subtly painted on the neck and on the bottom of the face. I think that was done really nicely, and that's a great touch there. He does also have his little hair clip that's painted in gold on the back of his head. I love that too. They sculpted the hood so that the hair will fit very nicely in the back, and you can really get some nice movement out of the head without that sculpted hood really hindering it, and I think that was a really, really smart choice. I got to applaud the design team on that choice there. Aside from that, though, this guy is pretty barren. The High Republic Jedi definitely are cool, though, because of all these extra kind of gold inlays all throughout. You have your Jedi logos here, which look great on the upper part of this outer tunic and the kind of sash down here, which is in a really nice thin rubbery kind of plastic. I really like that. The gauntlet also looks great, kind of matching the same theme as the rest of those outer cloaks. Everything looks really good, and everything looks really clean. I think that that's really nice. He's got some nice baggy pants here. The boots are where we really lack in any kind of detail. It is what it is at the end of the day. I'm not really upset about it, but I do kind of wish that his boots were just a little bit maybe weathered or something, so that they didn't look so plain. Other than that, though, he's got some really nice, very dark paint applications on the metal parts of the belt here, some pouches that are sculpted in on either side, and if you lift up the cape here, you've even got tons of extra detail. I didn't even realize this was on the figure until just now, and I'm really glad they painted all this stuff because, this is completely hidden, so I really didn't expect Hasbro to go ahead and paint all this, but the fact that they went ahead and did so is awesome. And overall, he's a pretty basic figure, but again, this is exactly how he looks in the game, and I'm very happy to have him in action figure form here today. Next up, we're going to cover Dagan's articulation here. So taking a look here, he has your modern articulation scheme for the Black Series. He's got that kind of, I guess I'll call it a barbell jointed neck. He's got a ball joint up at the top of the neck and at the bottom here. He can look down quite a bit. However, you are going to have the hair sculpted kind of, floating in the air. So maybe not the best, but I will say the hood also does a good job of hiding that. He can't really look up at all because of the sculpted hair. You can get some really nice tilt out of the head as well as some right and some left, and you can also lift the hair up and move it out of the way of the hood if you want to kind of exaggerate how far the head is turned there. He's got some butterfly joints at the arm, I will say, because he does not have anything at this other arm here, but he does have a butterfly joint, which even though this overlay does run over the shoulders, does give you some nice range still. He does have a hinge and swivel at that shoulder as well. That hinge is going to get you, honestly, maybe a hair above 90 degrees, which is great. And you can also swivel that arm a full 360 degrees. He has a hinge and swivel at the elbow. The hinge gets you past that 90-degree mark. The more articulation range, the better when it comes to these lightsaber characters. And he does have a swivel at the top of the elbow too. And then at the wrist, it looks like he's got a vertical hinge at that wrist hinge there, as well as that swivel too. So honestly, for having one arm, arm. He's got some good articulation on that one arm. He does have a ball joint at the waist here, hidden underneath the belt. If you ride it up a lot, you can actually see the separation of the top of the outer tunic with the sash. It is what it is. I'm not too worried about that, but some good range there. He's got some ball joints at the hips, which also have some really, really nice range. And then it looks like these are the new ball joints the Black Series is using, which has a wider opening on the inside of the thigh, so you can get basically an emulation of a thigh swivel, because they did omit the thigh swivel cut on this figure. And I will say, this is one of the best ones that I've seen with the range of motion there, so I gotta give Hasbro props for that. He does have some really nicely hidden deep cut single jointed knees. These get you to the 90-degree mark. Again, that cape is just gonna look really chunky when you kick that leg back. However, there is also a swivel at the top of the knee. And then of course you get the Black Series classic, the forward facing pin for rocker, as well as some forward here on the hinge, not too much, which is kind of a letdown. And on this left foot, you really have to watch that you are not riding up on underneath the sculpt of the top of the boot here. You want to get the sculpt of that foot to get above that, and it will give you a little bit more range other than just kind of mashing them together. And then he does also have some really nice back on those ankles as well. So overall, this is pretty much your standard articulation for the Black Series here in 2025. So I'd say now we just get this guy with lightsaber in hand and get him posed up a couple different ways, shall we? So again, we'll just connect our lightsaber blades here. They are the same exact length, and those are very easy to connect, and they do pass the shake test. With the lightsaber into Dagan's hand, which is very easy to do due to the stretchiness of the plastic of the fingers. And this is what the saber is going to look like in the hand. Here's just your basic pose, as basic as it gets, just him standing there. Let's try a couple more dynamic poses now. This is really strange as I'm posing him here, because I'm like doing poses and I'm like thinking, okay, now what do I do with the other arm? Because I'm so used to it with other figures, but it's just something that you're not going to get with this guy. And it's honestly making it really fun to pose him, because you're having to think differently, you know, than that extra arm there that most figures have. And honestly, it's really fun to pose him up. Here's another pose of him mid-stride, getting ready to do one of his unblockable combos on you in the game. And here he is in a really nice one-legged pose here. This is very easy to balance because of that new, very modern articulation scheme there. And again, this is a pose where, like, I kind of wish we had the soft goods as opposed to the hard plastic cape, because it just kind of looks a little bit off with the hard plastic there. It doesn't really look like it's moving with the figure at all. It's just a stagnant piece. So I guess at the end of the day, it is what it is. But again, it's got to be difficult as like a designer to make a decision like that, because, you know, do I sacrifice the posability by doing the hard plastic, or do I sacrifice the accuracy by doing soft goods? And it's kind of like a double-edged sword. And obviously, I thought it would be really fun to pose him up with the Jedi Survivor Cal Kestis figure that came out a couple years ago. These guys are really fun together, and honestly, being one of the main villains of the game, I think this is a perfect pairing for your shelf. So at the end of the day, where am I at with Dagan Gera? I think this is a really cool figure. I think just being a one-armed figure, he's gonna pop out on the shelf to most people. And him being a fallen Jedi really adds some cool intrigue. I think the color scheme he has of his robes really pop as well. Even if you're not a fan of the game, I feel like this guy's really worth just picking up as just a background character. I think he's just a great, cool-looking action figure. And really my only gripe on this one is the cape. And that just comes from my personal preference for the soft goods over the sculpted plastic when it comes to those kinds of pieces. Overall, I'd say this is definitely worthy of your collection. But with that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did and you're not yet subscribed, subscribe to Blitz Transmissions. I've got awesome Star Wars content coming out all the time. If you are an ARC Trooper in my Patreon, you would have seen this review early. If you'd like access to early content, monthly giveaways, and more awesome benefits, make sure to check out the link to my Patreon in the description below. If you are a fan of the reviews and you just want access to those and you want to support the channel, make sure to also check out my Rancor Battalion channel membership, also linked in the description below. And in addition to that, you can check out links to my Discord and all my social media in the description below too. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. I'll catch you for the next one, and may the Force be with you.
Breaking all